I think the word I'm most curious about is immortality.
Okay.
And then I see the word endurance in there again that we talked about before. And yeah, so I think immortality is what first caught my eye when I read that passage.
Okay.
And then where to go from there.
Yeah, what I think we'll do the immortality first, and then we're going to revisit the word endurance, because this form of the word, when you see it in its that written Aramaic form, has more letters than what we looked at before.
Oh, nice.
So there's a lot being communicated in here. So I've got the verse, I've got John Etheridge's translation, and I have King James translation. So John Etheridge uses the word incorruption. King James uses immortality. So we are going to take a look at that word. So what makes this incorruptible or immortality? The root word, so this area that I'm showing you here that I've highlighted is kind of like the mechanical translation. They'll have a couple words in here generally, but it's the mechanical translation. But there's other information that they leave out. And so when I go and I do all of my research, I'm going to bring in all of the moving pieces, because since it's that language of duality, we need to see what's going on both sides so we can neutralize it. So this word in its root is het, bet, lamed. And you can see that over here. Of course, that's the Aramaic letters, but here's your root. So when I look at the root of this, I can get it highlighted here. When I look at the root of it, going over to my notes, this is, so when you hear about the Cabal in the natural, the Cabal does all this and that and the other thing, that's this word.
Wow.
Okay, so we use words in English and we're like, Cabal, where do they get that? It means to ruin, to harm, to damage, to hurt. It also means to defile, corrupt, alter, destroy, and distort.
Wow.
Oh, just having that meaning of what this root is, now we can attach it to things that we're seeing in the Matrix that play out when they say who the Cabal is.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that agenda in the place of duality is the exact opposite of immortality.
Yeah.
They are seeking immortality, and it's funny because I see this, duality. They're seeking immortality, but yet they're corrupting, altering, and destroying and distorting. So are they seeking neutrality, or are they seeking immortality through a method in which they can destroy? I think that's just the system of duality, and they can't see past it. They just can't see past it.
Yeah. Wow.
And they play their role. So the reason why it is not corruptible, or what King James said is immortality, is the word prior. And in the word prior is that lo, is that word for not. So not corruptible. So the lo adds to it, saying that it is now incorruptible. And the definition I put in there, not subjected to or susceptible to corruption, especially by bribery, not subject to death or decay, and everlasting. So that's why King James would write immortal. But it's really, and I mean, you can see why they translated it that way.
Yeah. And so the vav in front of lo, is that
that's added?
Yeah. Okay.
So this is connecting. So if you were to break this down and see, okay, so what makes something incorruptible? That is corruptible. When we see that it's the Lamed Aleph, as we've looked at before, Lamed is to teach and to learn. It's also the staff of authority. It is connected to light, and then we have the Aleph. So it's like instruction in the way of one. And it's saying with the Vav, connect. Connect to instruction in the way of oneness unity, and you will not be corruptible.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
right?
Yes.
So mother is teaching you the way of one. And this is the beginning, because everything, again, on the prefix side is always the beginning, and the suffix is the end. So
okay.
In the beginning, you need to connect to mother's teaching. She's going to teach you the way of one. So this is leading you into what makes you incorruptible.
Okay. Wow.
See, this is why I love this language, because it literally is telling you what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then when you learn how to do it, then you can teach others. So teach your children in the way they should go, because it's all here. The blueprint, it's like, this is the course material. You don't have to create anything. You can just use a verse and say, hey, let's take a look at this and teach your children. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Much better than some of the diminished version that we get out here in the system of duality, where they literally dumb them down instead of raise them up. They're like, okay, two systems running simultaneously here. So now let's bring it into, now we know how to not be corruptible. So the root, and this is interesting because I know you're going to connect to many different verses here, many different verses. The root of this also is labor and childbirth. So the birth pangs, so let's look at duality here, what's going on. We have one is going into incorruptibility, and then we have one that is bringing corruptibility. We have one that is bringing ruin, harm, damage, and hurt, but then the other side is going into the incorruptible side of it, the exact opposite of it that is happening simultaneously. So then what I did underneath, so that you can track, this is all the Hebrew equivalents. Again, so the masculine side, so the feminine side of the root of it is having to do with childbirth, birthing something new, the labor in birthing something new. And when we have the suffix, okay, so when this word, het bet lamed, the root, het bet lamed, if it was written with the aleph all by itself, so now we're going to go to that suffix, your question about the suffix. When this is added on the suffix side, we are now talking about whom as far as teaching goes.
Okay.
Who's teaching this? So,
Father.
yes. Okay. And what is it connected to?
Is that then the nun, vav?
The feminine energy. It's now the feminine energy. So this word, when an aleph is added to the suffix, we're bringing in forth the feminine energy. And look, this makes sense. This is where it actually gets to birth pain. Of course, it would be feminine energy.
Yeah.
And the feminine energy is, what are we birthing ourselves out of?
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say the aleph is at the suffix, which means it's bringing in the feminine energy, but father teaches that.
Yes.
Okay, and mother teaches in the prefix and teaches the masculine energy. Got it. Okay.
And the reason? They have to be balanced in their approach to their teaching.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's going to be still part of the inversion. It's like mother is teaching mother and father is teaching father, and they are so polarized that there's no balance.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of us in our feminine bodies have a lot of masculine energy when we come into this incarnation.
Yes.
I know I do. I have like double Mars energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, really? I'm a lady. I got all this Mars energy. Okay. But that's to make my feminine rise.
Yes. Yes. For the balance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I get it. Yes.
Yeah. I knew you would.
That's good.
You are awake, my beautiful friend. So you know how this thing is being played. We're just validating everything that you already know or that you are remembering. So,
yes.
That's the way I see it. It's like, oh yes, I'm on the right track. Yeah. Okay, now let's go into the masculine to see what this is saying. So we're talking in the masculine sense. Mother has to teach what the system of duality looks like. Mother has to show that there is a light and a dark, and there's a good and the evil, because if you don't see the dual system running, you will never know how to unify it. And so there's a little bit of sorrow that goes into that you have to teach your children the way of good and evil because of how the inverted matrix works. Nobody wants to teach about evil because some of those things are just horrendous, but mother has to teach it. So through the masculine, let's take a look at what this is being said. And this is why when we wake up, we generally go into the truth movement and we find out about all this dark stuff that's going on that we didn't know about. It's because of this. So mother's teaching the masculine energy that talks about to wind tightly as a rope and to bind. Mm-hmm. What is the Cabal doing? They're trying to bind us.
Yes.
They're trying to pervert and destroy us. And then when we get into that place, there we got the writhing in pain as in parturition, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we also have to bind, to pledge, and to act corruptly. So this is an important part to understand what is going in the lump of clay aspect of it. Lump of clay aspect is the root, which is the heart,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
That it's dealing with the heart. So if somebody is seeking to defile, corrupt, alter, destroy, to bind others, they are going to writhe in pain. Or they were writhing in pain and they cut their heart out so that they could inflict harm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me show you why, in saying this, what the letters are telling us. Or actually, I'll have you tell me what you see. Letter het. What does the letter het, if you can remember? Again, I'm just pulling stuff out of you here.
Yeah. So life or.
Yes, but what does it also mean? It is life.
Remind me, please.
Separate.
Separate. Okay.
Separate, divide, fence.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, what is bet?
Bet is house.
Do you remember bet? And
House.
then it deals with what? Inside.
Inside, yes.
So it's the house, tent, but it's also the letter means
the
inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lamed.
Dot in the center of the bait.
Yes.
Springs, yeah.
And that means one who is pierced. Or has it can mean is dagesh, it's a dagesh. So it's the door where you gather that which is going to instruct you, bringing fire within. So this is a house that is burning.
Yes.
And this isn't necessarily a good thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Not with what the lump of clay is saying. So the lamed, what is the lamed saying?
The teaching staff, the authority.
And to teach and learn, right?
To teach and learn. And,
okay.
And what I'm just now seeing too is in this word Cabal, we have the reversal of leb.
Exactly. I was hoping you were going to catch that. So now this is a what kind of heart? Do you remember what this heart was?
On the inner heart.
Yes, it's having authority, or your inside has authority over you. But the definition of this form is a heart that has anxiety, anxiousness.
I hadn't seen this form before, but that
Yes. So this form, this language is so amazing. This says so much. It's like, okay, this is explaining why the Cabal does what they do. So Bet Lamed is a heart that is fearful, anxious, and terrorized, that has had terror. So they are separated from life because their heart is in the wrong position, because that terror is now having authority on the inside. And so because they have all of this would be someone that is really stuck in a position of service to self, or in other words, a narcissist. That's a good way to describe the narcissism that we see, because narcissism is a form of self-protection. It's the fight of the fight or flight, and then they get locked into it. So they are actually separated from their heart. So it's like, oh my gosh, of course.
And their awareness,
Absolutely,
really, right?
Absolutely. But Bet Lamed also is a word that means husband. So the husband comes so that on the inside teachings can be brought. I love that. And because the het is there, it's also life will be brought to you through the husband if you allow on your inside to be instructed by the husband. And again, it's that energy of that husband bringing the wife energy. I mean, because okay, how do I say this? So we have been in the bride concept for a long time, but we have not learned the wife concept. So the bride is separated from the Christ anointing. When the husband comes to marry, to bring forth the wife, it is now entering into the place of intimacy, oneness, Christ anointing. So the resolve is always going to present itself through the letters as well. Awesome. And because this is in the root, The resolve is from heart. It's from the heart level. It's all
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
So the resolve is right there. You got to go within. You got to go within. You're separated from your heart. So we need to allow the husband to come to move you into the place where you can be healed. So that instruction can come. Now, this is where it gets really fun. Okay, before I get ahead of myself.
I love your enthusiasm.
I get so excited. It's like champagne going everywhere because I'm like, there's so much that's being said. Okay, so let's finish. So we see what all of this stuff was in the first word. There's still information that is being put here. So we've got a rope, as in twisted. This is interesting because one of the letters that is not used anymore is the last letter in the ancient Hebrew language, which is really a form of Aramaic, and it's a twisted rope, and it is the exact picture of DNA.
Yeah.
And this is why that they said, and it also means evil. However, originally, the word evil meant DNA that had been corrupted. And so that's why when I saw this, I'm like, whoa, DNA that has been corrupted as evil, and it's connected to Cabal.
Wow.
So, and look at this, a measuring line, a district or inheritance. So again, we've got duality running here, but if they're trying to corrupt DNA, it's because they're trying to keep us from our inheritance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then we have a noose. We also have a company, as in tied together, which is the positive. It's like those of us coming together in oneness that are being bound together. A throw. So again, birth pangs. When you see birth pangs that are going on, let's take a look at all the earth stuff that's going on with the volcanoes and the tsunamis and the earthquakes. We are in the throes of this. In the throes, literally saying that purposely. So rune, accord, territory, band, a pain, pang, and destruction. But again, all this stuff has to come down so that the inverted version we've been running can be flipped right side up.
Yes.
Okay. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere with this. And this is why I was excited to
this land. This is so good. Yeah.
I just got to give you all the pieces so you can
so
see.
Good. Yeah. Go.
Okay. All right. So now we have a word that's in there with the root as well. Different vowel points. Again, further in study, we'll begin to go into the vowel points so that you have all that information. But that is a lot. So we're not going to worry about those right now. But look at what this is. So we have a word for sailor. Now, we know that sailors have to do with water. So, okay. A mem has been added on the front of this, and there's a reason why. We're going to go into that in a minute. And you're just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So a sailor, one who navigates the oceans, the waters of chaos. Now, let's go one more. This is from Cabal in the sense of furnished with ropes, a mast. Now, in order to set sail, you have to have a mast. It's like the center of the ship that raises the sail, so you have forward motion, right? So that you can go through the waters. But when this word is chibalim and it's pluralized, it means union. It means union. So we are talking about things that are being separated and bringing them together, yod mem, on the suffix, the power of Father that is given to you so that you can enter into the waters above, the waters of shalom. You're no longer in the lower, you're in the above. So this is telling us, if you follow through all of this and you look at this and you ingest it and you meditate upon it, this is going to come in your life. This is going to manifest in you so that you can see what's going on. If you can't see where you're headed, you don't know what your destination looks like. You have no idea. So how can you create it? Now, it also means a pawn as a security for debt, a pledge. So all of this, the Cabal is taking what they see that we're pawns in this game, that what is a pawn usually used for? A sacrifice, right? If you've been playing chess, you know that pawns, they move, they can do some amazing stuff, but they're usually a piece that is sacrificed in order for greater pieces to be moved on the board to take control of the board.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So here is where I get super excited about this. Look at the first two letters that were added. Now, if you don't know what this is, that's okay. Ken and I have been talking about this lately. It's a mem tov. This is the word in Aramaic for death.
Wow.
This is like, wow.
Yeah.
So this corruption, those who are in that negative polarity position that are cut off and separated from their heart, on the mother's side, you are automatically marked for death. And that's because they do not generate their own energy, because the energy is generated through our heart. So they're separated from it.
Yeah.
Now, they're marked with death, but the resolve always comes from the letters. And so what do we see? So what is death? First of all, it is saying that it is chaos. When you are marked with death, or when you are in death and you're not living, because really all of us, until we are spirit quickened, we're the walking dead. We're dead. We're not made alive yet. So the waters of chaos are in our life, and Mother is supposed to help us navigate, right? As a sailor, right? Trying to navigate these waters of chaos. Mm-hmm. And she is saying that it's important for you to have her mark. You have to have her mark of completion. And that means you are accountable, right? The teachings with the Hebrew mindset and what they would have also had in Aramaic mindset, because same people, right? They would have understood that the age of 12, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, which we mentioned last time, is the age of accountability. Mm-hmm. And this is why the Cabal, why we're saying slated for death, is because they are at the age of accountability. They have her mark. They have completed her instruction. They fully know what they're doing. They fully know what's being done. But again, the resolve is going to come from the letters, and I'm going to show you the story as we go into the resolve. There's something else that I want to show you as we're charging on here, is these three letters. Minus the Vav, it just keeps connecting to the Vav. But Bet Lamed Nun. This has the same gematria of the word Leben, and Leben is the word that means white, but it also means frankincense. So you have heard us talk about the bitter and the sweet. Mar is bitter, Laban is sweet. Mar is connected to Amar, which is Mother's bitter word that is meant to raise your head. Well, this is sweet. So if they were to flip the order of their heart and then have it be Lamed Bet Nun, this is how they are made white. This is now turning their bitter walk into a sweet walk, if they will flip the polarity of their heart. So that means that staff of authority, someone is going to have to teach them how to re-engage in their heart on the inside, because they're going to have to be pierced in order to do this.
Yes.
Okay. The Nun, Vav, Tav, Aleph is added on the suffix. Now, the reason why it was written incorruptibility, immortality, is that those two words are connected to one another. So if this is saying this is going to be the resolve to the Cabal, this is going to be the resolve to that which will become incorruptible, ones that aren't prone to bribery, all of that kind of stuff. this is telling you how you do this. This is the resolve. So this is a seed of life that is giving you a strong base to stand on that is going to shoot forth life. It's like this is also a word for like perpetuity. This can do with heirs. This can continuity of family. And I love the fact that it highlighted the noon vav together. I love that because new, that's how you would say this. New, you are made new. Yeah. Even though that's how you would say those two letters. This is a risen noon and this isn't a fallen noon. And this has to do with a spiritual walk and this has to do with your flesh. So in other words, because it's on the Father's side, this is the ability to have incorruptible flesh, to be made new. And it's saying that, so we now have the vav that is added on the suffix side. So what was the vav on the prefix side? What did that tell us to do? Because vav means
to connect. Yes.
Right. So what is this now on the suffix side? What is it telling us to do?
So does it disconnect or separate? No? Okay.
It's saying connect to Father.
Connect to Father. Okay.
Connect to Father. You have to connect to Father.
Yes.
So we have the Tav of Mother. You've connected. Now you have her mark, her frequency. She's saying you are responsible for that which you do in the matrix.
Yeah.
You're responsible. This is saying if you want to have incorruptible flesh and you want it to be risen, then you need to connect to Father. So Mother would be the teachable side, humble and teachable. Father is meekness, power under control. So you are being given a power because you're able to steward it, because Mother's meekness was the byproduct or the fruit of Mother teaching you so that you could be humble. So again, this is the resolve to the Cabal, but this is now showing you why we have incorruptible flesh if we go through the process. So take the spiritual path, not the material world path. Take the spiritual path that is going to be the seed of life to give you the strong base to stand upon, that is going to bring forth perpetuity in your life if you connect to Father. And then we have the Tav Aleph. And this was something recently that was just brought to my attention by Ken. And I don't know why I guess I didn't look for it or whatnot, but Tav Aleph means an enclosure, a guard room as circumscribed. So this is a room that one enters that has been circumscribed. Scribed means to write, like circumnavigate.
Yeah.
So look at it, ties to Ken's compass teachings. Circumnavigate that which is written. If you're a sailor and you're going through the waters of chaos, you need to have a compass so you know what direction you're going. Yeah. So the circumscribed room is that which has been written, is a set apart room that is guarded and protected. It's an enclosure. It's a small enclosure because not many find it. Not many find it. And then it means to be marked out. Now, Tav by itself, spelled Tav Vav through the constituent letters, it means a mark, but it also means exempt from judgment. You're entering into a room that is guarded. It's small, but you're exempt from judgment because you entered into oneness unity.
Yeah, I was saying I see the covenant of oneness unity in Tav Aleph. Yeah.
Yep, to be enclosed. Now, the portion on here too that we need to talk about is that everything on the Father's side is the darkness. It is the things that are hidden. It is the things that have to be searched for. And the only way to get to this is to go into the darkness of the places and root out and do your shadow work. Because that is what is keeping us from it. So again, if we talk about the Cabal, this is actually how they can invert themselves to the right position if they look at this. Look, you are marked with death. You have been cut off from your heart. You need to get into the spiritual path and connect to Mother, but you first have to recognize you've created chaos. And you need to be responsible, and you're being held responsible for that which you've done, because you've perverted, you've inverted, you've destroyed, you've killed. But there is a new path for you to take. But you're going to have to connect to Father, which means you're going to have to go into your shadow work, and you're going to have to deal with all of this, that which is in your heart that made it terrorized. And if you do this, I will give you my covenant signature that you went through the work and you entered into oneness.
Wow.
So the resolve is right there.
Yeah.
So immortality says death. So amazing. The fact that death is written at the beginning of that word. Death is written. So then if you go back to that word before, not death. Not death.
Not death.
And not being corrupted. So Mother is going to teach you how to navigate the oneness rivers, seas, in this chaos, if you choose to be teachable and humble. And it's going to lead to a life that is incorruptible, aka immortality.
Wow.